Not to make an actual level with a room in it, we're just going to open up a new scene. Sure, I'll see. Okay. And the setup will be exactly the same as the terrain. We're just going to leave the main camera as is and the directional light as is. One thing that I forgot to mention in the terrain video was the skybox. So I'm going to show you, or rather, I'm going to go over that really quickly. So when making spaces in 3D, most often than not, you're gonna have to import 3D assets from the internet or the asset store, because there's only so much you can do with primitive game objects. And primitive 3D game objects are just anything that are in the list that's already pre-made: cubes, spheres, cylinders, things like that. There's only so much that you can do with that. So Unity has an asset store. If you go to Window, Asset Store, it's an area where you can download a bunch of things. You can download 3D models, you can download animations, audio, a bunch of stuff. So right now, let's say I want to download, well, you know what, let's just hit 3D models. And let's look at free only. So there's a lot of free stuff on here that you can download. So let's look at what they have. Nature pack, free rocks. Oh, but I want to make a room. Let's see what we have here. Anything simple? Snow mountain knife. Okay, sorry, I'm diverging way too much. Let's see if we can find like a crate. Cool. Here we are. So let's say I want to download this for my level. What you need to do is to log in. You have to create a Unity account if you don't have one yet. So once you log in, you can hit download. Depending on how many models and things you download, it may take longer, obviously. But Unity is automatically going to try to import everything associated with that file. So here I have all this stuff for the crate. You're going to hit import. Once you import, that folder is going to be brought into your assets folder within Unity. So let me close the standard assets. And here it is. The folder is called crate, and here are the crates. So that's how you use the asset store, how you download things into your scene. So let's close that. And one thing that you should know is the file types of 3D models that you can bring into Unity. There are two main ones that are, in my opinion, that are easiest to work with. So let me see if I have this saved. Yeah, 3D formats. This is just to show you the actual documentation of Unity. So really these are the two main ones that you will see. It's .fbx and .obj. Those are 3D model 3D files. Unity can also read other files, for example, .dae, .3ds, .dxf. However, I don't really use those. For the most part, you will see FBX and OBJ. So let's try to find a 3D model online. So one of the sites that I use a lot is called Turbo Squid. Let's say bed. And there's a lot of free stuff on here as well as paid for content. Please don't pay for things. Try to use as many like free 3D models as possible because there's really no necessity to buy stuff. So let's bring in, I don't know, Alright, let's bring in this bloody mattress. So, for Turbo Squid as well, you need to have an account in order to download the models. I already have one, so I'm just gonna log in. So I would suggest that you also create an account here to use it. You're gonna hit download. Important thing to note about using 3D models that are not yours is to always look at the licensing. This is royalty-free licensing. If you click on it, it'll explain to you what that means. And they should have lots of information about all that stuff. So if you're worried about using someone's content, just always read the license and make a README text file with the details of the licenses of all those different 3D assets that you're going to use. Usually just a link to the 3D asset suffices. Anywho, so one thing to note about 3D models is the polygon count. The higher the polygon count, the more high definition the 3D model is, and therefore the most cost within the graphics card is going to use. So you want to be very careful about those numbers. So let's look at the difference between this bloody mattress, which is like close to 10,000, and something a little bit nicer. So here we have over 1 million polygons. So you would just definitely want to be sure. One or two assets that have a high polygon count may not be so weighing on the graphics card. It starts really to take effect when you have a lot of things within the scene that have a high polygon count. So let's actually just bring this one. So I'm gonna download it. And when you use Turbo Squid, it always brings you to like this dashboard of items. It doesn't download the file right away. So in this case, this bed that I clicked on is an OBJ. But for example, if you look at other things that I have downloaded here, there are times when objects have more than one file, one 3D file that you can download. So it's up to you which one you want to use. Again, I always recommend using either a .obj or .fbx. So the bed already is OBJ, so I'm going to click on it to download it. Oh, another thing that I wanted to go over that I forgot, so I'll do that while the file is downloading, is the Skybox in the camera. So right now, if I hit play, the camera is just going to be this default like blue sky, but I can change that as well. So in Unity, in the asset store, if you go into the search bar and just type in Skybox, you can download several of them. So here it looks like you have to pay for some, but this one is free. And this is the one that I will be using. So once you make an account, you can download and import it. And I believe I already had done that already. So let me just close it out. So what you're going to get when you download that file from the asset store is just a bunch of PNGs. And these are the ones that you're going to use to make a material of type Skybox so that we can put it on the main camera. So I didn't go over the different types of folders that I made, but as always, you want an underscore scripts folder and an underscore scenes folder just to be organized. And also for 3D, I have a 3D models folder and a materials folder. So you want to make sure you have those just so that you are organized. But what I'm going to do right now is show you a material that I made called Sky. So I made that by right-clicking Create Material, and I just called it Sky. And once you do that, you're going to find the shader type in the drop-down menu. Select Sky Six-Sided, and you should be able to get all these tabs of different images that you can select here. So what you want to do is go to that folder where the images were that you imported from the asset store, and you're just going to drag in each image to its proper side. So the front image is going to be the front image, back image is, oh, did I do this wrong? Hold on. Front, back, back, etc. And that's what you want. And then when you're all done with that, you're just going to go to the main camera, add a component called Skybox, and then from the materials menu that we created sky, we're just going to drag sky into that Skybox. And now when we hit play, we'll have that nice Skybox within the scene instead of the default blue. And there are different skyboxes that you can find as well. You don't have to use this one. It's just an example. But yeah, so our bed should be downloaded. So so the way to bring it in is identically as you would anything else in the 3D module. You're just going to drag in the file. And I did it within the 3D models folder. So that's going to be right here. Now, if I bring in this, it'll come with this plane. Let me show you if I, as you can see, the bed comes with this like gray plane right underneath it, and we don't want that. So I'm gonna go in and just delete it, or actually not delete it, but just make it invisible. Oh, nope. Where's the big, oh, here it is. That's what I want to make invisible, just that big giant. Cool. So now we kind of have a floating bed in the middle of nowhere. And what I'm going to do now is just make a small room. There are two ways to make walls. You can have solid walls by just resizing a cube, or you can panel, which is what I often do when making 3D rooms. And I'll show you the difference right now. So if you go to Game Object, 3D Object Cube, right? Cube is really the most versatile of all the primitives. And it's probably the one that you're going to be using most often to make things like grounds and walls and other things. But I'm just going to resize this small cube. Why can't I? Oh, here we go. I'm just going to make a nice big flat area. This bed is really big. But for the sake of it, I'm just going to go off of the bed size. For the sake of example. Alright. And just make sure that the bed is like right above the plane. That's good. Alright, and now we have a bed, and we have a ground. What you can also see is that the bed 3D model doesn't look exactly the same as the one on the site that has the textures on it. And that's because whoever created this model did not upload the textures. See, textures, no. So what you would want in order to put some texture on the stuff within Unity would be to download some 2D textures and attach them to their appropriate components. So I'm going to do that just with the outside of this nightstand. So I'm gonna go in and try to find out which object it is. all this stuff is grouped together. So that's gonna be a problem. The reason why this is a problem is because the lamp is not separate from the nightstand. So if I wrap a texture around this whole object, it's gonna wrap the lamps the same as the nightstands. So if I choose wood, everything's just gonna be wood. The way to separate that would be within an actual 3D modeling software. That's really unnecessary for our case right now. We're just gonna make the best out of what we got. So let me just show you then. Even though it's gonna wrap the lamps, I just want to show you how it looks like. So in Google, let's just look for wood texture. Why is this Yahoo and not Google? I don't know what Google did to me. Sorry about that. So let's pick this one. Just gonna click save image. Wood. So desktop. I'm bringing wood into my textures and materials folder. Seems like I already had another one, but let's see. Let's drag in that wood textures the wood texture that I just had, and I'm gonna put it right on that. So there you have it. It wraps around the entire texture, but the problem is that it also wrapped the lamps because the lamps were included. They're highlighted within that. So that's what kind of stinks about that. So the only way to resolve this issue then would literally be to either go in Maya or Blender or 3D software and just separate the objects, or you can just download a different bed model. Okay, and then let's just wrap the. Oh, sorry. Where's our cube for our ground? Let's just make our ground also wood floor. Why not? Right. So as you can see, the texture on the ground here is really grainy, and that is probably because my cube is very large, and it's stretching out the texture. So what you can do is actually even panel the floor so that it doesn't look as stretched out. Looks a little bit better that way. So what is paneling? It literally means you have a specific size of a cube, like so, and you can just duplicate it and put it right next to it. If you hold down V while you are doing this, it should snap right to the edge, so that you don't have any gaps in between stuff. And that's how you would panel a floor. You also have to be careful because as you can see here, there's like a seam, and you definitely don't want seams on stuff. But think of this as like wood tiles. So in order to perhaps make the seams less noticeable, you would make smaller panels so that they would be tiles and you could manipulate them easier. But for the sake of this demo right now, I'm actually gonna have this be really big. And you can worry about the details later. I'm also gonna undo this. Alright, so how about walls? Well, it's exactly the same way. You use a cube, and you just resize it um, to a proper size. Flatten it. So, and there you would have a wall. I'm actually going to duplicate it and rotate it to make this other wall here. Let's see. Ooh, what axis? Oh, what I want is 90. I don't know math. Okay. Alright. And then I want it as well. There we have another wall. So if it's protruding like so, it's alright. Just make sure that at least the tops are aligned. And that should work fine. Cool. So now we have two walls. And these are not panels. So why would I want panels? Well, the thing is that in Unity, you cannot make holes within a cube. In order to make holes for like windows and doors, you need to use paneling. So what I'm going to do is actually make a panel for this wall behind the bed so that I can have a rectangular or a square area to put in a window 3D object. So what I'm going to do is just resize it again. Usually panels are these very long rectangular, they're just rectangular shapes that you can put right next to each other, like so. So I'm just gonna duplicate another one right next to it. And let's say that I want my window like right after this panel. I downloaded a 3D model of a window already. So let me just remove where the glass would be. Here or not? That's not it. Glass border. Glass. There we go. All right. Let me rotate it. Whoop. Whoop. Let's see how big this window is in comparison to the room. Whoa. Oh, it's really small. I don't know where near the room. Yes. finally. Alright, so now that we have a window, I'm gonna put it, let me remove that rotation. Put it right next to this. And the sill is facing outside, which is what I want. For your prototypes and your final project, I do expect you to spend a lot of time designing rooms. Because at this point, your final project is not so much about programming like it was for 2D. It's really about design. That's going to be the goal for your projects. Sweet. So this is good enough for what I want right now. And what I'm going to do, this wall. So in order to panel above and below, you're gonna make another cube, right, that would fit properly. So I'm just gonna actually duplicate the one that we have here already, since it's the same size in length. I'm just gonna shrink it on the Y, or rather the Z in this case. But I could put it right above it. And then at this point, it's just a matter of really being tedious and getting the proper sizing so that it looks good. I'll just leave it like maybe a little bit. And then just duplicate it again, put it underneath the window. So. And then another panel would go over here, and I would literally just bring in a longer one, just duplicate it, put it right next to it. Okay, and that's how you make paneling for windows and doorways and things like that. For a doorway, let's put the door over here on the side. For doorway, you would put let's duplicate this panel like so. We'll make a fairly good, decent sized door, and then you would put a small panel up above. Let's do it again. And with all these walls and things, you definitely don't want to leave them as just cube 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, because it's going to be hard to figure out where things are once your scenes start getting bigger. So what I do suggest is that when you are done modifying your room, that you rename each panel and that you put it on a folder, for example, like wall 1, and then assign all the panels to there, and then wall 2 and assign all the panels there, just that things are a bit more organized. Because once you start creating really big spaces, you can have like hundreds of cubes and you will be lost. And that's what you would do for a doorway area with paneling. And can you wrap textures on walls? Yeah, you can, the exact same way that I added a texture to the floor. The problem with that though, so for this I just downloaded, and control V that. Oh my goodness. Let's remove that. So what happens is I had accidentally uh, messed this up. So if I just drag a 2D image that I downloaded from the internet, it's actually going to wrap around the entire object like so. And in order to make like a wallpaper, let's say you just wanted a solid color, that's really easy to do. So if you go to textures and materials, and have materials here, when you attach a texture to an object, it's automatically going to make a material of it like so. But if you go to like the materials folder and you just right click create material, you can name it something like a color or something, and then you can change the color within the color spectrum here. So I'm going to delete it because I already had one called color 1 that I had customized down here. But when you do that as well, you can do a solid color instead of an image, right? But it will wrap around the entire object. So what if you only wanted clouds, like a cloud wallpaper, on just overlaying this face of the cube only? What I would suggest to do is to actually bring in the 2D image as just like a sprite, for example. Let's see if I can do that here. Oh yeah. So you take a texture type, it would be sprite 2D single, and then you're just gonna apply. And then when I bring that in, it's just gonna be an actual sprite 2D image that you can rotate around. Let me see what this cube right here. 0, 0. But on the view that I want. That's good. So what you would do is just rotate it and then place it like very closely to the actual wall. So small. Alright. In this case, you're just gonna get as close as possible to the wall, and then that would be kind of like wallpaper for just one side. So of course you would resize it to the actual size of the wall if you want to cover the whole thing. You could actually make that into a painting and just import a 3D model of a frame, and then that could just be like a painting or drawing. But that's how you make rooms in 3D space, paneling versus just using the primitives to make solid walls. What's another thing? So for these types of areas, because they are small, I would suggest not bringing in a first-person controller and just having the camera just hover above the room so that you can see the whole area. Let's double click on here and let's find so I would just push it up, bring it above, and do like a top-down view so you can rotate it on, let's see, is it on the X? Yeah, you rotate it on the X downwards so that I can see the room, and bring it up above, like higher. Oop, no, cool. So kind of like that, but just make sure that actually I'm able to see the whole room and all the details. Um, and that's it for making a room. I will give you details on the assignment on Sakai once I upload the videos.